You know what men never tell you? That the one thing they crave more than sex, more than attention, more than even your smile, is a very specific kind of compliment. Now, before I tell you what it is, let me paint the picture. Most women think the compliments men want are about their look. You're so handsome, you've got great arms, and sure, he'll take it. He's not turning that down. But let me ask you this, how long does that compliment really stay with him? 5 minutes? Maybe an hour? It fades. Most people assume men are simple when it comes to compliments. They think men just want to hear that they're handsome, strong, or attractive. And while no man is going to reject those kinds of words, they're nice in the moment. They don't touch something deeper inside him. A compliment about his appearance or something external can give him a temporary boost, but it usually fades quickly, sometimes within minutes. The reason is that these kinds of compliments don't truly connect with who he is. They're surface level, and surface level validation rarely lasts. Imagine someone saying to you, "You look nice today." You might smile, you might even feel a small spark of confidence, but you know deep down that tomorrow someone else could say the same thing to you, or to 10 other people. Compliments like that don't really feel unique. They don't distinguish you in any meaningful way. It's the same for men. If the only thing they ever hear is, "You're so good looking," or "You've got a great body," it becomes background noise. Pleasant, yes. Memorable, no. The truth is, men, like women, want to feel noticed for more than just their outer shell. When you only compliment a man's looks, what you're really doing is acknowledging something he had relatively little control over. He was born with certain features. Maybe he spends time at the gym. Maybe he takes care of his grooming, but those aren't the deepest reflections of his character or the truest measure of his value. And so while he might appreciate it in the moment, it doesn't touch the core of his identity. It doesn't create a lasting emotional imprint. That's why compliments about physical attributes are fleeting. They live on the surface. A man might hear one, smile, and then continue his day without it echoing in his mind. Contrast that with a compliment that acknowledges something about his essence, his presence, or the way he impacts others. That's the kind of compliment that lingers, the kind that comes back to him later when he's alone, because it validates who he is, not just how he looks. Think about the compliments we give children. If a child only ever hears "you're so cute" or "you're so pretty," they may start to believe that their value is tied only to their appearance. But when a child hears "you're so kind" or "I love how creative you are," they begin to build confidence in qualities that are lasting and truly theirs. The same psychology applies to adults, men included. A man who only hears praise about his looks is left chasing external validation. A man who hears praise about deeper aspects of himself feels recognized and respected on a whole new level. There's another reason appearance-based compliments don't satisfy men for long. Men often grow up in environments where their worth is tied to performance, strength, or success. They're told to be tough, to provide, to stand tall. Underneath all that pressure, many men secretly crave acknowledgement for their humanity, for the person behind the role. When all they get are surface-level compliments, it can feel like no one really sees them. It reinforces the mask they wear, but it doesn't nourish the heart underneath. This is why it's so important to understand that men, just like anyone else, are layered beings. They want to feel desired, yes, but more than that, they want to feel understood. They want to know that the person who's close to them sees beyond their jawline or their shoulders. They want to feel that they are valued, not just as an object of attraction, but as a person with depth, character, and emotional presence. When someone realizes that surface-level compliments don't have the power to stay, they can begin to shift the way they express admiration. Instead of defaulting to the obvious "what can be seen," they can reach for the meaningful "what can be felt." That small shift changes the entire dynamic of a connection. It creates depth, intimacy, and trust, because when a man hears something that speaks to who he is rather than just what he looks like, he feels recognized in a way that very few people in his life ever make him feel. At the heart of it, men want to know they matter, beyond the superficial. When we stop at the surface, we might make him smile, but when we go deeper, when we reach past the outer shell and acknowledge the person beneath, that's when we truly touch him. That's why the usual compliments, though appreciated, are not enough. They're fleeting, forgettable, and shallow. And once you understand that, you hold the power to connect with him on a level he rarely experiences, but always desires. When most people think about compliments, their minds immediately go to the obvious ones: looks, possessions, or achievements. They think the way to make a man feel good is to praise his appearance, his car, his job, or something impressive he owns. But the reality is, those kinds of compliments don't land the way you think they do. They may create a momentary sense of pride, but they don't sink into the heart. The most powerful compliment a man can receive isn't about what he looks like or what he has. It's about the way he touches someone's life, the unique effect he has that goes far deeper than the surface. When you tell a man, "You're so handsome," he might smile and feel a quick jolt of satisfaction, but inside, part of him knows that looks fade, and he can't control time. When you praise his car, his suit, or his paycheck, again, he might appreciate it. But those things are external symbols. They can be taken away or they can be matched by someone else. None of these compliments get to the core of who he is. None of them tell him why he is different, irreplaceable, or valuable on a level that lasts. The truth is, a man doesn't stay awake at night thinking about how many people liked his new haircut or how many noticed his watch. What truly matters to him is whether he's made a meaningful impression on someone he cares about. He wants to know that what he brings to the table goes beyond appearances or possession. He wants to feel that his essence, who he is when all the labels and objects are stripped away, matters to someone. That's why the most powerful compliment is not about external things at all. It's about his impact. When you tell him that he makes you feel calm, or that you love how safe you feel around him, or that being in his presence makes your day better, you're giving him a gift no material compliment could match. You're showing him that who he is has a direct effect on your emotions, your state of mind, your life. That is unforgettable. Think about the difference between saying, "You look really strong," and saying, "When you're here, I feel like everything is under control." The first is about muscles. The second is about the feeling of safety he provides. One strokes the ego. The other speaks to the soul. Which one do you think he'll carry with him? Which one will replay in his mind later, long after the conversation is over? The answer is obvious. Another layer to this is that many men don't often hear compliments that go beyond the surface. They're used to getting praised for what they do, not who they are. They're accustomed to being measured by results, achievements, or appearance. So when someone takes the time to reflect back the way he makes them feel, it breaks through the noise. It feels rare. It feels special. And because of that, it lingers. The irony is that while men may look confident, successful, or even untouchable on the outside, inside they are often starved for deeper acknowledgement. They might get recognition at work, or admiration from friends, for their car or their physique. But very few people stop to tell them, "You make me feel safe," or "You bring out the best in me." Those words are powerful because they point directly to his identity as a person. They confirm that his presence matters, not just his performance. When you shift the kind of compliments you give, everything changes. You move from being one more voice in a chorus of surface-level praise to being the one person who sees him. That creates a connection he doesn't want to let go of, because in a world where most people notice what he has, you notice who he is. And that's what makes your words stand out above the rest. So the truth is simple. The most powerful compliment isn't about what a man looks like, what he drives, or how much he earns. Those things might make him smile, but they won't touch his heart. The compliment that matters is the one that tells him he has made a difference in your world, that his presence has changed how you feel, that his being, not his belongings, is what you value. And when he hears that, it doesn't just feed his ego, it feeds his soul. When you really think about it, the words that stay with someone the longest are the ones that describe how they make us feel. Anyone can compliment a man on his hair, his clothes, or the way he handled himself in a meeting, but those kinds of comments only go so far. They stay on the surface. What cuts deeper, what actually penetrates his heart, are the words that reflect back the emotional impact he has on you. That is where connection lives. That is where intimacy is built. Most men rarely hear these kinds of compliments. They hear about their achievements, their responsibilities, their ability to provide or fix things. But very few people stop to say, "You make me feel calm," or when I'm around you, I feel lighter. These words aren't just nice to hear. They tell him he is significant. They show him that he is more than a checklist of duties or a collection of accomplishments. They confirm that his presence matters to someone in a way that transcends logic and numbers. When you tell a man how he makes you feel, you are doing something profound. You are giving him a mirror to see himself in a new way. Many men don't realize the depth of their impact. They may assume their role is just to provide, to protect, or to show up in practical ways. But when you voice the effect his presence has on your emotional state, it opens his eyes. He sees that his value is not just what he does, but who he is. That realization is intoxicating. Think about it this way. Telling a man, "You're so strong," is fine. It complements his body. But saying, "I feel so safe when I'm with you," goes much deeper. One points to a physical attribute. The other points to the comfort and security he gives you. Saying "you're really funny" is nice, but telling him, "I love how you always lift my mood when I'm down," acknowledges the emotional change he creates in you. These aren't abstract statements. They're powerful acknowledgments of how he changes the quality of your experience. That's the kind of compliment that sticks with him. Long after the conversation ends, he'll replay those words in his mind, because they validate something essential. They don't just make him feel noticed, they make him feel irreplaceable. Anyone can admire his appearance, anyone can compliment his career, but not everyone can tell him, with honesty, the way he shifts their emotional world. That's the compliment that separates you from the rest. It's also important to understand why this matters so much. Men are often socialized to keep their emotions under control, to be the steady hand, the protector, the problem solver. As a result, they rarely get to feel the emotional impact they have on others. They may secretly wonder if what they do really makes a difference. When you express the way he makes you feel, it answers that question for him. It tells him, "Yes, you matter. Yes, your presence changes something real in me." That kind of validation is not just attractive, it's addictive. And here's the best part. It doesn't take a grand gesture or a carefully rehearsed speech. It only requires honesty. If you feel calmer, say it. If you feel happier, express it. If you feel more at ease, let him know. Those genuine reflections of your experience are worth more than 1,000 generic compliments, because they are tied to your truth. They show him that he has the power to shift your emotions simply by being himself. This kind of compliment doesn't just make him feel good in the moment, it bonds him to you. It creates a connection where he feels seen in a way most people never see him. And that bond is what makes relationships last. Because when someone feels truly recognized, they don't want to lose the person who gave them that gift. So when it comes to complimenting a man, the secret isn't in praising the obvious. It's in tuning in to yourself and expressing the way he makes you feel. That's the kind of compliment that doesn't just stroke his ego, it reaches his heart. And once it reaches his heart, it stays there. Every man wants to feel significant. That's the hidden desire behind so many of his actions, even if he doesn't openly admit it. He works hard, he tries to impress, he puts effort into being strong or capable, and beneath it all is the hope that someone will notice, not just what he does, but what it means. When you give him a compliment that reflects his true impact on you, you hand him the feeling of significance he's constantly chasing. It tells him that he matters in a way no material possession or shallow compliment ever could. Think about how most men move through their day. At work, they're measured by performance. At home, they're measured by responsibilities. In society, they're often measured by strength, wealth, or success. Almost every space tells them they have to earn their value. But when someone close to him tells him, "I feel so safe when you're with me," or "you always make me feel calmer," it cuts through all of that. It says your value isn't just what you achieve, it's who you are to me. That kind of recognition isn't just flattering, it's transformative. Feeling significant is not about being praised for something superficial. Anyone can admire a man's car, his looks, or his title, but those things are replaceable. They don't make him unique. When you express the way he makes you feel, you tell him that he in his essence is irreplaceable. You're not saying, "I like you because of what you have." You're saying, "I value you because of how you affect me." That difference is huge. Consider how rare it is for men to hear this. Compliments about appearances are common. Recognition for achievements comes with the territory of career and social life. But compliments that affirm his significance in someone's emotional world, those are scary. When he hears that kind of compliment, it doesn't blend into the noise of everyday flattery. It stands out. It becomes a moment he replays in his mind, a reminder that his presence carries weight and meaning. This is why men respond so powerfully when they feel significant in your eyes. It's not about ego, it's about identity. Deep down, everyone fears being invisible, being replaceable, or being just another face in the crowd. Men are no different. When you show him that he brings something to your life that nobody else does, you erase that fear. You confirm that he's not just filling a role, he's making a difference. And that sense of difference is what lights him up inside. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, you tell him, "You're really successful at what you do." He'll appreciate it, but it's a compliment that thousands of others could give. In the second, you say, "When you talk about your work, I feel inspired. You make me want to aim higher too." In that moment, you're not just praising his success, you're acknowledging the ripple effect he has on your life. That makes him feel significant in a way no general statement ever could. The same is true in smaller everyday moments. If he fixes something around the house, you could simply say, "Thanks, you're handy." Or you could say, "When you handle things like that, I feel like I can finally relax. It takes a weight off me." The first compliment strokes his skills. The second shows him his significance in your world. Guess which one he'll carry with him long after the task is forgotten. This isn't about inflating his ego with empty words. It's about genuinely noticing and reflecting back the difference he made. Men crave this because it assures them that their efforts, their presence, and their energy are not wasted. It assures them that they are not just filling space, but contributing to your happiness in a meaningful way. The truth is, significance is at the heart of attraction and love. When a man feels significant with you, he doesn't just enjoy your company, he treasures it. He feels like more of himself when he's around you. And once he associates that feeling with you, he doesn't want to let it go. That's why the compliments that highlight his significance carry so much weight. They're not just words, they're reminders of his value, and they become part of the bond that ties him to you. When it comes to love and connection, people often think it's the big dramatic gestures that create deep bonds. Flowers, gifts, trips, or physical attraction get a lot of attention. But the truth is, what really makes a man connect on a soul level is not those external displays, it's how he feels in your presence. He falls in love through the emotions he experiences when he's with you, and those emotions are tied directly to the way you reflect his impact back to him. Men are taught from a young age that they should value strength, success, and achievement. Because of that, many end up believing that these are the things women admire most. But while those qualities might spark initial attraction, they aren't the glue that makes someone stay. What makes a man stay is the emotional experience he has when he's with you. Does he feel significant? Does he feel appreciated? Does he feel like his presence truly matters? Those are the questions that determine whether a relationship becomes deep and lasting. That's why the compliment about how he makes you feel is so powerful. It feeds the part of him that wants to know he's not just attractive or accomplished, but that he's making a real difference in your emotional world. When you say, "I feel calm when I'm around you," or "You always bring a smile to my face when I've had a hard day," you're showing him that he affects you on a level beyond logic. He's not just someone who looks good standing next to you. He's someone who changes your state of being. That is what bonds him to you. A man doesn't fall in love because you told him he has nice arms. He falls in love when he feels that his presence shifts something inside you in a way that no one else can. He becomes attached to the idea that he can bring out emotions in you. Safety, happiness, joy, relaxation, that others cannot. It gives him a sense of purpose in the relationship, and purpose for a man is one of the most addictive feelings there is. Think about it. If you tell a man you're so good looking, it's flattering, but it's temporary. 100 other people could say the same thing. But if you tell him, "When I'm with you, I feel like I can finally let go of all the stress I'm carrying," he knows that's something only he can provide for you. It places him in a unique role in your life. That uniqueness makes him want to protect the bond he has with you. Men connect deeply through these kinds of emotional acknowledgements.
because they strip away the noise. They go beyond the competition of who's more attractive, more successful, or more impressive. They remind him that, in your eyes, his worth is tied not to external markers, but to the feelings he creates in you. And that makes him want to invest more, because he feels seen in a way that the outside world rarely offers. It's also important to realize that men often carry silent insecurity. They may look confident on the outside, but inside they worry about whether they're enough, whether they're truly making an impact, whether they're living up to expectations. When you reflect back to him the emotions he stirs in you, you soothe those insecurities. You tell him, yes, you're enough, more than enough. You make a difference here with me. That reassurance builds trust, and trust deepens love. The irony is that these compliments are so simple yet so rare. They don't require flowery speeches or complicated declarations. They only require awareness, tuning in to how you feel around him, and sharing it honestly. Those moments of honesty are what leave an imprint on him. He remembers them, he cherishes them, and they become the foundation of his connection to you. So while attraction might begin with the physical, it doesn't last there. What lasts is the emotional imprint you leave on him. When he feels that his presence makes your life brighter, lighter, or calmer, he doesn't just enjoy being with you. He needs to be with you because you've given him something beyond admiration. You've given him significance through the emotions he awakens in you. That's what makes him stay. That's what makes him fall in love. Not once but over and over again. The most powerful words are the ones that come from a place of truth. When it comes to complimenting a man, the key is not crafting the perfect line or memorizing a set of phrases. It's about being authentic. A compliment only works when it's felt. If it's rehearsed, exaggerated, or said just to get a reaction, it might spark a polite smile but it won't sink in. What makes a man remember your words long after they're spoken is the sense that you meant every syllable. Men are surprisingly good at detecting when something is genuine. They might not analyze it out loud, but they feel it. A compliment that's forced or overly polished can actually have the opposite effect, making him question whether you're just saying what you think he wants to hear. But when your words come from a real, spontaneous place, they hit differently. They feel alive. They feel personal. They feel like they belong only to him. That's why authenticity matters so much. Imagine two scenarios. In the first, you look at him and say with a rehearsed tone, "You make me feel safe." The words are technically right, but if you don't actually feel safe, he'll sense something is off. In the second, you catch yourself relaxing while sitting beside him, and without thinking too hard, you say, "I don't know what it is, but whenever you're here, I can finally breathe." That's the moment he won't forget. Not because it sounded perfect, but because it was real. The beauty of authentic compliments is that they don't need to be grand or poetic. They don't even need to sound like compliments in the traditional sense. Sometimes they come out in a laugh, a sigh, or a quiet moment when you let down your guard. Authenticity is what transforms ordinary words into something that pierces through his defenses. It's what makes him believe you. And belief is everything. If he doesn't believe your words, they're just noise. If he believes them, they become true. This also explains why some of the most powerful compliments are the simplest. A whispered "I love how I feel when I'm with you" carries more weight than an elaborate speech about how amazing he is. Why? Because the first one feels natural. It doesn't try too hard. It doesn't attempt to cover every detail. It just reflects your genuine experience in that moment. And that's enough. Men, like anyone else, are drawn to authenticity because it feels rare. The world is full of performance, social media highlights, polite interactions, surface-level flattery. But when you cut through that and speak from a place of honesty, it creates intimacy. It tells him he's with someone who isn't trying to manipulate or impress, but someone who is truly present with him. That's a gift. The irony is that authenticity can feel vulnerable. It requires you to pay attention to what you're actually feeling, and to trust that expressing it is enough. Many people hold back from saying what's real, because they fear it won't sound polished or impressive. But men don't remember polished. They remember real. They remember the look in your eyes, the tone in your voice, the way your words carried emotion instead of perfection. And here's the magic. When you give a compliment from a place of truth, it doesn't just make him feel good in the moment. It creates trust. He begins to associate you with sincerity, with someone who means what they say, that trust is magnetic. It makes him want to open up more, to be vulnerable in return, because he feels safe knowing that what you share is genuine. In the end, the words themselves matter less than the feeling behind them. You don't need to memorize clever lines or stress over what will impress him. The most unforgettable compliments are the ones that bubble up naturally from your experience. Notice what he brings out in you. Pay attention to the emotions you feel when he's around, and when you express those honestly, you'll find that your words carry a power no rehearsed script could ever match. That's what makes authenticity so important. It's not about saying the perfect thing, it's about saying the real thing. Because when a man feels that your compliment is authentic, it doesn't just stroke his ego, it touches his heart, and that is what he remembers. Don't just compliment him, see him, speak to how he makes you feel, and watch him fall deeper in love with you.